They join forces, the wicked do not go unpunished, but the prosperity of the righteous will be delivered. Posterity of the righteous will be delivered. As a ring of gold in a swine's snout, so is a lovely woman who lacks discretion. The desire of the righteous is only good, but the expectation of the wicked is wrath. There is one who scatters, yet increases more, and there is one who withholds more than is right, but it leads to poverty. The righteous soul will be made rich, and he who waters will also be watered himself. The people who curse him will withhold. People who will curse him who withholds grain, but blessing will be on the head of him who sells it. He who earnestly seeks good finds favor, but trouble will come to him who seeks evil. He who trusts in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like foliage. He who troubles his own house will inherit the wind, and the fool will be servant to the wise of heart. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he who wins souls is wise. If the righteous will be recompensed on the earth, how much more the ungodly and the sinner? That's the end of the chapter. I want to read one thing it says, but the posterity of the righteous will be delivered. The word posterity is in the Declaration of Independence, the preamble, and it refers to your future generations. Anybody who is part of your lineage after you is your posterity. And a lot of modern dictionaries, that word has been taken out because of that. Anyway, good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Steve. I just wanted to, Nelson and I are going to talk about the organic law. And I'm not sure where we're at on that, but what I wanted to do before then was I just filed a brief, it's actually a notice of constitutional challenge. Thank you. This is the Word file. Maybe I'll just pull up the PDF. And then this is the actual filed document. So I wanted to go through this because I think this is, these are really good. I think this was, Bill Ellis, we were at a meeting last Wednesday and Bill Ellis isn't here. And Bill Ellis brought up about the unconstitutionality of the some things, and I thought, he's right. He's a cantankerous old fart, but he's right. Anyways, and so I filed this notice of constitutional challenge.
Do you want that pointed that way at this point, or
Yeah,
what do you
good
want
point.
to do? Just don't know what your plan is.
Yep, good point. So this is a notice of constitutional challenge that I filed in the court here yesterday. In my case, comes now demandants providing notice to the bought and paid for clerks masquerading as judges in this inferior legislative court and their executive branch congressional handlers in the District of Columbia, that their 1871 corporation, domiciled in the District of Columbia, and his minor estate scam are violations of organic laws, which includes this Constitution for the United States of America, for the reasons found in the brief attached. So that's the actual notice, and I sent a copy to the U.S. Attorney General. Anyways, this is the brief. So we'll go through this, and then Nelson and I will talk about the organic law. So comes now demandants providing notice to the bought and paid for clerks masquerading as judges in this inferior legislative court and their executive branch congressional handlers in the District of Columbia, that their 1871 corporation, domiciled in the District of Columbia, and its minor estate scam are a violation of the organic laws as follows. Number one, there's 4 organic laws for the United States of America: the Declaration of Independence, 1776, the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union, 1781, the Northwest Ordinance, 1787, and this Constitution for the United States of America, 1787. The District of Columbia 1871 Corporation is a violation of the organic laws because it is a Roman law from the Vatican. And this is Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Civil law, Roman civil law are convertible phrases meaning the same system of jurisprudence. That rule of action which every particular nation, commonwealth, or city has established peculiarly for itself, more properly called municipal law, to distinguish it from the law of nature and from international law, which violates Article 1 in Amendment, which requires Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. And I think that was absolutely brilliant by Bill Ellis to bring that up.
Can you enlarge that for us, please, on the screen?
Whoops. I closed it. Like that?
Yes, sir.
I can make it bigger if necessary.
Yeah, as big as you can would be the best for our purposes. In the room,
Let's see.
possibly on your video, too.
I think that's about as big as you're going to get. I should remove the toolbar on the top, that's all.
I'm getting it bigger here.
Much better.
Okay. So, violates Article 1 in Amendment, which requires Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. And this is the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And is bringing the Vatican's Roman law onto the land of America, which uses fraud and deception to supersede and replace common law. And there's no common law offenses against the United States, only those acts which Congress has forbidden with penalties for disobedience of its command or crimes. Same thing in Texas. Under Texas law, no act or omission is a crime unless made so by statute. As found in the causes and necessities for taking up arms, 1775. To supersede the course of common law and instead thereof to publish and order the use and exercise of the law martial. And it's also talked about in some of the reasons for the separation from the tyrant in the organic law of the Declaration of Independence, 1776. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. Gee, that sounds like just about a quote from the Cestui Que Vie Act of 1666. For imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefit of trial by jury, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments. He's abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. Because common law is the law of the land, which has always been here. This is Hale versus Henkel. His rights are such as existed by the law of the land long antecedent to the organization of the state. That means long before the state was here, common law was here. And it is full of fraud and deception, which is the same reason why they took up arms against the Vatican's tyrant for all the grievances listed in the organic law of the Declaration of Independence. The minor estate that the County of Montague and Vatican's bar members and the Vatican's bought and paid for clerks masquerading as judges have assaulted the demand with is also a violation of the organic laws under Article 1 and Amendment, which requires Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. And that's the First Amendment again. The minor estate was created by the Vatican. This is Tomlin's Law Dictionary, 1835 edition, volume 2, under the definition of ordained.
Thank you so much.
Yet still it was found difficult to set bounds to ecclesiastical ingenuity. For when they were driven out of all their former holes, they devised a new method of conveyance, by which the lands were granted not to themselves directly, but to nominal fiefs to the use of the religious houses, thus distinguishing between the possession and the use, and receiving the actual profits, while the season of the land remained in the nominal fief, who was held by the courts of equity, then under the direction of the clergy, that's the Roman cult folks, to be bound in conscience to account to assess the use for the rents and emoluments of the estate. That's taxes. That's imposing taxes on us without our consent. And it is to these inventions that our practitioners are indebted for the introduction of uses and trusts, the foundation of modern conveyancing. And by the Vatican's tyrant with the Sestakv Act of 1666, which was for land titles, and was brought into America with the Code of Law for the District of Columbia at 31 Stat 1432, where it says the legal estate to be in sestakve use, which is talking about land titles, and a use is short for usufruct under Roman law. Those things which perish by capitis diminutio, of which kind are a usufruct, an obligation to services on the part of freedmen contracted by oath, and matters enforceable by statutable action. See, this is all statutes. The commentaries of Gaius, the rules of opium, translated with notes, 1874, which is a type of a trust, and a U.S. citizen / minor estate entity, 31 CFR 363.6, is a taxpayer. The Vatican's minor estate is also talked about in some of the reasons for the separation from the Vatican's tyrant in the organic law, the Declaration of Independence. And these are the same sections out of the Declaration of Independence, and as found in the causes and necessities for taking up arms. Same code as above. Janet Yellen and her predecessors used the Vatican's fraud and deception of their minor estate entity. Now I say that the heir, as long as he's a child, differeth nothing from a servant, though he be lord of it all. That's in Galatians 4:1. To use it as justification to assault the demandant with the Commerce Clause, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, in violation of Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, to deceptively assault the demandant with a quasi-contract. Assumpsit, in its origin an action of tort, assumpsit was soon transformed into an action of contract, becoming afterwards a remedy where there was neither tort nor contract. Based at first upon an express promise, it was afterwards supported upon an implied promise, and even upon a fictitious promise. They lay awake at night with this crap. And both in Roman and English law, there were certain obligations which were not in truth contractual, but which the law treats as if they were. They were contractual in law, but not in fact, being the subject matter of a fictitious extension of the sphere of contract to cover obligations which do not in reality fall within it, which requires the Vatican's minor estate, or other fiction. Constructive quasi-contracts are based solely upon the legal fiction or fiction of law. So the Vatican's bar members of the county of Montague can assault the demandant with their Texas tax code with their forced rendition, which is why they use the Vatican's fraud and deception of capitis diminutio. And this capitis diminutio is the destruction of the caput of the legal personality. Capitis diminutio, so to speak, wipes out the former individual, puts a new one in his place. Between the old and the new individual, there is, legally speaking, nothing in common. A juristic personality may be thus destroyed in one of three ways: loss of status libertatis, this is capitis diminutio maxima; loss of status civitatis, this is capitis diminutio media; and by severance from the agnatic family, this entails capitis diminutio minima. And this is a textbook of the history of the system of Roman private law. Black's Law Dictionary, 8th edition. Capitis diminutio maxima is through the use of capitalization, all block capital letters, the highest and most comprehensive loss of status. This occurred when a man's condition was changed from one of freedom to one of bondage. When he became a slave, it swept away all the rights of citizenship and all family rights. because the Vatican's broad and deception of capitis diminutio maxima is used when they enslave people, and they are Satanists using fraud and deception to sell people into slavery as collateral for their minor estate. He, the prisoner, as a consequence of his crime, not only forfeited his liberty, but all his personal rights except those which the law and its humanity affords him. He is for the time being a slave of the state, which are non-judicial proceedings, because whenever a statute's involved, the Vatican's fake judge is actually a bought and paid for clerk masquerading as a judge. When acting to enforce a statute and subsequent amendments to the present date, the judge of municipal court is acting as an administrative officer, not in a judicial capacity. Courts administrating and enforcing statutes do not act judicially, but merely ministerially, but merely acts as an extension, as an agent for the involved agency, but only in a ministerial and not a discretionary capacity. It's the accepted rule not only in the state courts, but in the federal courts as well, that when a judge is enforcing administrative law, they're described as mere extensions of the administrative agency for superior reviewing purposes, as a ministerial clerk for an agency. Judges who become involved in enforcement of mere civil statutes, civil or criminal in nature and otherwise, act as mere clerks of the involved agency. Which is why it is a bill of pains and penalties, similar to a bill of attainder in violation of the organic law. This Constitution for the United States of America, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1, and Article 1, Section 9, Clause 3. Bill of attainder means legislative acts, no matter what their form, that apply either to named individuals or to easily ascertain members of a group in such a way as to inflict punishment on them without a judicial trial. A bill of attainder is a special legislative act prescribing punishment without a trial for a specific person or group. Bills of attainder are prohibited by U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 3, and Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1. A bill of pains and penalties, a legislative act that, though similar to a bill of attainder, prescribes punishment less severe than capital punishment. Bills of pains and penalties are included in the U.S. Constitution bans on bills of attainder. Also means they have no authority to do anything judicial and are fraudulently and deceptively presenting themselves as a court of law. Ministerial officers are incompetent to receive grants of judicial power from the legislature. Their acts in attempting to exercise such powers are necessarily nullities. Their legislative inferior court might be a superior court of general jurisdiction under some circumstances. A court of general jurisdiction is presumed to be acting within its jurisdiction till the contrary is shown. When a superior court of general jurisdiction undertakes anything that is in derogation of common law, it becomes quad hoc an inferior court of limited jurisdiction. To be the statutes which would deprive a citizen of the rights of person or property without a regular trial according to the course of uses of common law would not be the law of the land. And their maritime codes have absolutely nothing to do with common law. When therefore a court of general jurisdiction proceeds under a special statute, it becomes a court of limited jurisdiction for the purpose of such proceeding. Accordingly, where a court of general jurisdiction undertakes to carry out a special power, a decision made in the exercise of such power is treated as a ruling of a court of limited jurisdiction, and the presumption applicable to a court of general jurisdiction that it acted within the scope of its jurisdiction does not apply. It is familiar law that when special statutory authority and derogation of common law is conferred on courts of general jurisdiction, such a court of general jurisdiction becomes quad hoc a court of inferior or limited jurisdiction. Therefore, it's actually an administrative hearing for their maritime code. A maritime ministerial act is an act that a public officer is required to perform in a prescribed manner in obedience to the mandate of legal authority, without regard to his own judgment or opinion concerning such act's propriety or impropriety. When given state of facts exist, discretion, on the other hand, is power conferred on public functionaries to act officially according to the dictates of their judgment. When acting to enforce a statute and its subsequent amendments, I've already read that one. It's the accepted rule, I've already read that one too. Judges who become involved, I've already read that one too. Which is a fraud and deception because it's actually an executive agency working for the executive branch. The word administrative is synonymous with the word executive. The word administrative connotes of or pertains to an administration, especially management, as by managing or conducting or superintending the execution, application, or conduct of persons or things. Administrative acts are those acts which are necessary to be done to carry out legislative policies and purposes already declared by the legislative body. In fact, it is common to use the two words in tandem. which is full of fraud and deception because there is no judge for that proceeding. It's actually a bought and paid for clerk masquerading as a judge that cannot do anything judicial. To put the demandant into bondage, selling the demandant into slavery as collateral for the Vatican's minor estate as described in 31 CFR 363.6, because an entity includes the estate of a living person such as an incompetent and a minor. And a minor can be an individual who's attained the age of 18 years but has not yet taken control of the securities in his or her minor account. And they're fraudulently and deceptively using the Vatican's minor estate to bring the District of Columbia outside a maximum 10 miles square in violation of Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, and which is using the Vatican's fraud and deception to unlawfully place the demandant under the Commerce Clause. And this is National Mutual Insurance Company versus Tidewater Transfer Company, U.S. Supreme Court, 1948. In other words, Congress has exclusive legislative jurisdiction over citizens of Washington District of Columbia, and through their plenary power nationally covers those citizens, even when in one of the several states, as though the district expands for the purpose of regulating its citizens wherever they go throughout the states of the Union. This is why the Vatican's bar members are name-calling the demandant a sovereign citizen like it's a bad thing, when they know the House Joint Resolution 183, dated May 3rd, 1940, at 54 Stat 178, says in the preamble, whereas it is desirable that the sovereign citizens of our nation be prepared for the responsibilities and impressed with the significance of their status in our self-governing republic. And the Vatican's bar members are required to know that the Supreme Court of the United States has ruled that everyone and everything not privileged is sovereign, all of which evidences their intent to perjure their oath to support the supreme law of the land under Article 6, Clause 2, and make war on the Republic and engage in all the reasons for the separation from the Vatican's tyrant listed in the Organic Law of the Declaration of Independence, 1776. This is prohibiting the free exercise of the demandant's religious belief in violation of Article 1 and Amendment. And so then Article 1 says, or prohibiting the free exercise of religious beliefs. As a Christian, because the demandant has a right to own land under natural law and the Holy Bible, every citizen or freeman is enjoyed with certain rights and privileges to enjoy which no written law or statute is required. There are fundamental and natural rights recognized among all free people, which is satanic, because the Vatican is a necromancer with their minor estate, or is bringing dead things to life prohibited under God's laws found in the Holy Bible. And this is Deuteronomy 18, actually 18 verse 11, or a charmer or consultant with spirits or a wizard or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord, because these abominations the Lord thy God to drive them out from before thee. And they are using fraud and deception of the Vatican's minor estate to engage in the theft of the demandant's land, to populate the prisons by selling people into slavery. If a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him, or selleth him, then that thief shall die. Thou shalt put evil away from among you. And from fraud and deception, lies, and all fraud, deception, and lies come from the devil and Satan. You have your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. I know the blasphemy of them that say they are Jews or Christians and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And so that's the end of it. That's been filed, and it's now in the Court of Appeals. So I have to. The Court of Appeals hasn't showed up yet. Usually, I get a letter wanting filing fees from the Court of Appeals, and so we'll see what happens. From that. I'm actually thinking about possibly doing an emergency, a Rule 11 emergency petition to the Supreme Court, because all the courts are corrupt. They presume you're dead. There's no due process of law. This is losing public confidence in the courts. There's a lot of people that are they're populating their prisons. There's more people in prisons than there is in the worst communist dictatorships. Anyways, don't get me going. So we'll see what happens. But I filed that yesterday, and it's there now. And so we'll see what happens. They say that, who knows? Remote viewers saw Congress adjourning for the last time. If this DC corporation gets ruled unconstitutional, then that would certainly cause Congress to adjourn for the last time. So we'll see. Let's see what the chat is. See if there's any. Oh wow, there's nobody there. Oh, there's 5 people there, but no chat. Okay. So, anyways. Oh wow, it was cut off. Yeah, it was.
They don't want them hearing this.
I guess.
I think it's interesting, Glenn. You know, you were referring to organic laws, all right? But if the Organic Act of 1871, they used the same language, all right, when they turned it all into a corporation for the bar members and stuff. When they got the first bar member elected, you know, after 5 failed attempts, Abe Lincoln, you know, and then
I don't remember that in there, quite frankly.
well, you're mentioning organic laws, all right? But I'm just saying that they used the same language when they turned the country into a corporation. It was the Organic Act of 1871. There wasn't anything organic about it.
Yes, there was. Yes, there was.
I don't remember them calling it the Organic Act.
Yeah, it absolutely is. We'll look it up real quick. That way we'll know. But I think you're right. He's right. It's called the Organic Act of 1871.
Yes. And what I'm saying is they use the same language as you know, or as the Constitution. All right. You mentioned organic. All right.
Yes,
But also another thing, the executive. All right. You're mentioning you kept mentioning executive in there, which is administrative. All right. So the executives get their power under the emergency. All right. And so we've been in an emergency ever since, and no one wants to give up that power. You know. Even Trump, and then we're cheering it on. Yeah, executive order, do that, man. Get him, Trump. You know, no party wants to give up the emergency.
I know they always have another emergency, don't they?
Yeah.
Why are his executive orders helpful and lawful? And so why would they be helpful and lawful?
Well, again, all executive orders are just instructions for the government. It has nothing to do with we the people. And so he's just instructing the government. So
It's like if I have an animal that's biting the neighbor, and I'm responsible for controlling the animal.
right, exactly.
So the president, as the executive officer, is responsible
To control the animal.
to control their animals.
Yep.
So that's why I'm okay with the executive order.
Well, it's just like the Sesame Trust. You know, it's kind of like in the name in all caps. You know, the VA sent me a bunch of medicine the other day, and for free. And you know, it's like, yeah, that's me. I'm the name in all caps all day there. You know, I get some benefits from that. But when you're But when you're coming after me with the law, all right, with what they consider law, then no, all caps, no, that's not me. Right? And if there's money attached, and I can get it, hey, yeah, that's me. That's me all day long.
I don't want to. Hey, Glenn.
Yo,
When you made that comment.
are you going to speak into the mic?
No, she's refusing to. She's a free woman. She can do that if she wants.
Oh, okay.
You always have to repeat.
So I'll have to repeat the question. No
Okay,
problem.
that's fine. When you made that comment about someone had seen Congress, perhaps maybe for the last time, they were all in great distress. I think I saw the same thing. Wasn't that by Dick Outdyer and his team of remote viewers?
Yes.
Did they make a prediction that maybe it might be this April?
Actually the question was Francine was saying that it sounded like it sounded like was Dick Algar. Yes, that was. That was remote viewers. That was Dick Algar that saw Congress adjourning for the last time. I'm just looking for. Wow, I guess I don't.
You're here. Let me see this in my.
Oh, right here. Okay. So let's show this. Okay. Here it is. An act to provide for a government of the District of Columbia. I don't see anything here about organic. Let's do a search and see if the word organic is here. Oops. No, word organic's not here. This is 16 Stat 419. Yeah, this is the act that created the District of Columbia. I don't know where you get the word organic from. Did you?
Yes, I've heard that before.
Sorry?
Glenn, I heard it that it's the Organic Act of the District of Columbia.
Well, I just showed it right there, and it's not there.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be just a reference of what people call it, as opposed to what's legal.
Yeah, it could be slang. Could be some sort of slang.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me, can I read this, Glenn? All right. So this
Just an overview. It says the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871. The District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871 is a law that established a single government for the District of Columbia. It also repealed the charters of Washington and Georgetown, created a single municipal government for the District of Columbia, established the District of Columbia as a body corporate for municipal purposes, gave the district jurisdiction over all its territory. So that's what Glenn talks about. The territory of the United States of DC is extended into the states, into wherever, and then gave, established a legislative assembly with a council of a House of Delegates, gave the president the power to appoint council members with the Senate's advice and consent, and gave male citizens of the district the power to elect House of Delegates members. It says the act was first to create a single municipal government for the federal District of Columbia, and Congress repealed the territorial government in 1874.
That's real helpful as we ask questions and we can put to rest our presumptions. The presumption I had, because I've seen it so many times, is somewhere it had to say organic, and it doesn't. So I'm going to stop using it and correct people who do in a nice way to try to get us all to start speaking the correct language. Organic Act is an act of the United States. This is what one source says. Is an act of the United States Congress that establishes an administrative agency for local government. An organic act. There's lots of organic acts. There's an organic act. It's basically organic is defined as what? Look up what organic is.
of the earth, probably.
Just organic. There's maybe initial or organ has a function?
Organic meaning.
Yeah. What's the organic meaning?
Or it could be established,
This is a-
they established the District of Columbia. It says the establishment of that.
And that fits within this explanation that an act in United States law, an organic act is an act of the United States Congress that establishes an administrative agency or local government, which is what that did. It established a local government. And they're taking that local government and extending it outside of the up to 10 square miles.
Can I, the other day I was watching MeTV, and we've been conditioned about cops, and cops can use their lights and going down the road pulling you over, all this bullshit, where they're committing felonies. But like if you look back at so you have sheriffs and you have marshals, all right? So what was Mr. Dillon in Gunsmoke? He was a marshal, right? So that's a federal extension of DC, all right? And so I looked up what year the Gunsmoke was supposed to be representing. It was 1874, right after all this happened.
That is definitely more good insight.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing anywhere that it says it's organic act. I don't know where you're getting that from,
No.
Jason.
Glenn, we've come to, everybody agrees, we came to the conclusion as of now, we should stop using that to describe the act in 1871 is an act to establish a government for the District of Columbia. But if we refer to anything as an organic act, then it's, in general terms, it's to establish, in United States law, it's when Congress establishes an administrative agency or a local government. That's how this one source describes what an organic act is. So in the past, we've had quite a few, we've touched on quite a few subjects. Anybody have any initial, before we start getting zeroed in on starting our resumption of our presentations? On the organic laws, I was stuck on the organic law till last week, and it was proven to me that I have to refer to them as organic laws, plural. Now, the first organic law is what? The Declaration of Independence. There's 4 organic laws of the United States. And when we use the term United States, it can mean a lot of different things. It can mean the current corporation. It can mean the original, all of the geographical states that are represented, the United States. And there's only one the United States with a capital T in my view. And that's all of the states themselves. Now, when those states, there's a question in some people's minds that any state that came into the Union after 1861 might not be a constitutional state. It could have been a territory, but because there was no, or at some point in the process between that and today, any territory like Arizona, is Arizona actually is your state? There's a case to be made? No.
Any state that came into the Union after 1861, remember in 1861, on April 15th of 1861, Lincoln ordered Congress to reconvene under executive authority. And they've been operating under executive authority ever since. And so any state after that isn't there could be some question as to whether it's a real state or really just a territory.
And that, of course, is why we as free people have to comprehend the contents of the organic laws, because those organic laws contain the common law rights that they're not granted. The organic laws are not granting common law rights to me. They're guaranteeing them. They're explaining that they are there for the government to recognize. And then we have the second organic law of the United States. And what's that one, please? Anybody? Second organic law.
Articles of Confederation.
1777 is when that was originally instituted by the Continental Congress. I like to refer to it as the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union as the full name. It is the document that represents the Confederation, which is found in the Constitution. Let's go to that now, if we can, Glenn.
Declaration of Independence?
No, Article 6, Clause 1 of the Constitution. Now, we all know there's more than one Constitution. Jason, please look up for me the word Constitution, meaning the general meaning. Some say it's a debt indenture, some say it's a contract, some say it's a corporate bylaws. It maybe is all of those. The reason why I'm going to Article 6, Clause 1, does everybody have their Constitution with them today? Does anybody have their Constitution?
Here to read this. Hey, Ned.
Yeah, a second. There's about 11 or so people here. I'm not going to indict anybody, but is there anybody that has the Constitution, a written?
Digitally.
Okay. All right. So on the digital phone, we can always bring it up. If that's the case, I would suggest always knowing which Constitution you're pulling up, because not all constitutions are created equal. And once one finds the correct version that they want to use that's legit, that's the one should then begin to study from, which is what we did, was we put together files that are the genuine article. That way we're not sent down rabbit trails, and we're able to walk on a nice flat plane. And the reason I'm looking up Article 6, Clause 1 is it uses the word confederation. So the Confederation was created when? We just discussed the second organic law, Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union. When was that initiated? 1777. Because the colonies, now the states, individual sovereign states had to join together into they were already in a union, some say, at the Declaration of Independence. When was the union created? I think it was 1776. So now we go to 1777, and we're going to go back to it in a second, but in the Articles of Confederation, it says the style of this confederacy shall be, and there it's in lowercase, which means it's a common law confederacy. If you've heard of people making a confederation, in a back alley somewhere, in a back room, there's a confederation. They make it sound bad. Confederation isn't necessarily bad or negative. Okay, the word Constitution, Jason, means what?
A constitution is a set of fundamental laws and principles that define how a country or organization is governed. It establishes the rights of citizens, the structure of government, and the relationship between its branches. How constitutions are created and changed. Well, there's a whole other thing there.
Excellent. So that explains why there are these two constitutions to what we call the United States. In error many times. I have two constitutions here. One is Senate document 116-3. That's the Constitution of the United States. And then when I was locked up, I called the congressman where I was locked up, his area, his district, and I asked him for the Constitution that he has an oath to. And what he sent me is the Constitution of the United States of America, which is document number 110-50 of the House of Representatives. Now that sounds like two different things, two different texts. So I went through each one line by line and found out there is a small difference in the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the United States of America. Both coming from what I thought was a legitimate government. It may end up being that the current government is not legitimate, and that's the problem we're having. It was a corporation created, as Jason likes to say, is in a file cabinet in the city of London. Is that what you said?
There's a statue.
It's in a file cabinet in the city of London where there is a statue. I have it on my phone. You can go look it up.
Abraham Lincoln.
Abe Lincoln.
Thank you.
Abe Lincoln's statue. All right. So he helped them with this. He's the first bar member who got in there. The 13th Amendment said that bar members or people of nobility or esquires cannot serve in government. This is what the Constitution said. All right. And so they got in and they amended the Constitution, and they took out the original 13th Amendment. They put in the 13th Amendment to free the slaves, and then they created the 14th Amendment, which created citizens. And so that's what they consider us, a citizen of Washington, D.C.
So they can make us all slaves.
So they make us all slaves. And so one other thing, somebody was bringing up the other day, you know the movie Gladiator, and it took place during Roman times. And what was his name? Maximus, which was Glenn was saying, which is the maximum status of slave. Loss of status.
The maximum loss of status. Now, if one used English and said the word minimal, what's the minimal loss of status? How can I lose any status? How is that possible? Well, if I came over here as an indentured servant and had a contract to serve a man or a family for 7 years to pay my way to the new world, I had to agree to lose some of my status while I'm here. And then I was an indentured servant. I owed a debt that I had to pay. That's why they call properties have a, what's the word when it's encumbered. The property's encumbered with debt. Well, we, as an indentured servant, we encumber our body and our labor for a specified amount of time. And in the Constitution, doesn't it say that anyone who, or maybe it was one of the 13th or 14th Amendment talked about anyone who's held to labor or, there's another word, there's held to labor or service.
Involuntary servitude.
No.
Yes, that's the 14th Amendment.
No, that's the 13th.
Oh, that's 13th.
Well, somewhere it talks about labor or service, held to labor or service. I think it might be in the original Constitution. Let's look it up real quick. So hopefully everyone's having questions, and let's get them answered. And if you have a good question, then we can, if we don't get the answer today, when whoever finds the answer can then bring it to a meeting sometime, and then we can actually begin to improve our corporate knowledge.
It says here, right here, it says, this is Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3. It says, representatives of direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years. So those bound to service for a term of years, those were the indentured servants, so they were considered free.
Correct.
And excluding Indians not taxed and 3/5 of all other persons.
Right, and it's definitely, the term I use is probably in the 13th or 14th Amendment. So Ned, look this up for me, 13th or 14th Amendment. When you find it, let us know. Okay, so back to capitis diminutio. Capitis diminutio.
Maximus.
Well, there's maximus, media, and minimus.
I have it.
Tell us where it is and what it's like.
Page 25, number 13, section 1.
Into the mic, please.
Page 25, section 1, amendment 13. Neither slavery nor voluntary servitude except as a punishment for crime whereof the parties shall have been fully convicted shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Section 2, Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Amendment 14, Section 1, all persons born or naturalized in the United States.
I just want to know about the persons held to labor. So, what was
Amendment 13.
slavery nor involuntary servitude.
Right. Section 1, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, citizens of the United States. Oh, wait a minute, that's 14.1. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction.
What's the difference between in the United States and within the United States? When we read documents, in the United States, within the United States, in this state, within this state. What's the difference? I'm going to tell you what I believe it is, and it's proven so the last few years. In the United States has to do with the District of Columbia. People say, do you live in the United States? No. I'll say I live within the United States. The word within is talking about the geographical territory, which is the land mass, the geographical boundary. Within the boundaries. So within is a very good word to learn that when you see that, I found it to be a whole lot more positive than in. You didn't say that the United States is within a filing cabinet, did you? What did you say? It's found in. It's not within. It could be within because you were talking about the geographic area. But we just get lazy sometimes and say in. You were right by saying that. But so when we talk about within and in, so here it talks about the 13th Amendment, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime. The reason why we need to understand the trick they're playing on us with this. What's the difference between slavery and involuntary servitude? Anybody have an idea?
Well, you could volunteer out.
Involuntary servitude.
Oh, well, that's, you have no choice.
So that's with one. Remember how you used to have to go make license plates or go to a rock pile if you were convicted of a crime? People say that in Alabama and Mississippi, one of the issues of why the federal government had to keep troops in the southern states after the war was over, the Civil War, was because the local whites were accusing, the government of the local whites were accusing black people with crimes like jaywalking just to send them into servitude, that they were involuntary, because they could put them into involuntary servitude as punishment for a crime, and that they were convicted. So what that means to me is when I walk around the lands that I'm on and approached by a law enforcement officer, they're presuming I'm already a convict.
Right.
But what is what in their sick world is actually true that is convicted? What's convicted? What's convicted is that name. The name is, in their world, is already a convict. It's an all caps name. It has a complete loss of status as capitis diminutio maximus. It's a complete loss of status. Somebody please read me capitis diminutio maximus definition. Ned, capitis diminutio maximus. And the reason why, unfortunately, it took us all this time to discover this is because we're proud of our name. They teach us I was in kindergarten, if I'm not mistaken, maybe first grade, and I remember very clearly learning how to write in print in block capital letters. And then when I saw my name in block capital letters for the first time, that was different than normal. And then of course it sounded like it looks like it has strength, but it does have strength, but it's strength in the bonds that it puts on me. And they've used those bonds to then capture my body in maritime jurisdiction for a pretended crime.
Define crime.
In their world, it's whatever they say it is.
Is running a stop sign a crime?
It is if you have if you have a complete loss of status, they absolutely can statutorily make it a crime for that all caps name, but you happen to still own that name and it's attached to us like it's tattooed, and that's why they have the legal right to put us in the back of the car, take us away, and write up a charge. And we think, a charge, that's a criminal charge. No, a charge, as we now know, is their way of attaching the Sesticate Trust. So they're running out there saying, I need to get somebody to agree to put a charge on their credit card. There's a guy, Jason. Let's chase him down.
Yeah, that'd be the surety.
Hold on, here's Ned.
Okay. Capitis diminutio maxima. Capitis diminutia is a Latin phrase that means diminished capacity or loss of status. It could occur in three ways. Capitis diminutio maxima, the most severe loss of status involving the loss of freedom, citizenship, and family.
Repeat that.
Most severe loss of status involving the loss of freedom, citizenship, and family.
Just the last three seconds. Citizenship, we lose. With the all caps name, loses what?
Citizenship.
Citizenship.
Citizenship. What else do we do?
Freedom
Freedom
and family.
and family rights.
Uh-huh.
You can't inherit true land in the all caps name.
Which also falls under parents' patriarch. State is your mother.
Okay, so now I want you to do a little more work. That is look up capitis diminutio media.
Right here, right here. Because this is part of the 3 ways. So there's 3 ways. So the capitis diminutio maxima, there's capitis diminutio media, and capitis diminutio media. But media, a partial loss of status involving the loss of citizenship, the loss of citizenship but not freedom.
Citizenship, but not freedom.
Define citizenship.
Well, this is it. That was one of my questions. Why are we even using the word citizen?
I don't know.
It means monster or
I'll tell you why. The reason why I don't mind being a citizen is because citizens in the Constitution have privileges and immunities. See, we have to put ourselves back in that world when there were all kinds of, and it's still the same today, but we've lost, all the free men have lost their freedom by virtue of being rooked out of it and not realizing through fraud, which is why we have to reclaim the freedom.
Do we really know that the word citizen was in there, or did they add it?
We're going to look it up. We're going to look up, hey, Bill, welcome to the party.
And don't write his constitution. Yeah.
So, yes, we can find it. First, let me talk about, let's not, keep the question for later. But I want to stay focused on capitis diminutio, diminishing the status a lot, total, status a medium amount, and status a minimal amount. Is there a way to not have our status diminished at all? I say yes. So we're going to find out how to recover that. And that's why we struggle against government that is saying to us, we do not have full freedom. We have a loss of status. So Glenn likes to talk about Roman civil law. And that's statutory law. So the moment a statute applies to us, is that by definition a loss of status, a loss of freedom? As a free man, I can choose to lose my freedom to a degree. The states were initially sovereign. They agreed to surrender some of their sovereignty under certain conditions. When 2 people get married, they surrender some of their freedom to each other, correct? And that's one of the reasons there's so much agony, because in their mind, they say, wait a minute, I want to be free. They're in the midst of their relationship, and it's like, I'm a free man. No, when you get married, you lose some of your freedom.
Well, also, we know that the registration means forfeiture, all right? So when the mother abandoned her baby, it was registered, all right? When you apply for a marriage registration certificate, a certificate is a proof of a registration. So look at when you register your car, they give you a certificate of title, all right? And so they maintain superior title. Well, anyways, we all know that. But think about a marriage certificate, all right? So you're bringing the third party as a state into the marriage, all right? So then the one that creates of all the courts, supposedly the one that creates the most freaking bonds is the family courts. And they're the ones that divided the family, put the kids with a narcissist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you register your kids at school, what's that? You're forfeiting your kids, right? That's when they can do whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, Ned. Also, somebody will look up Galatians 4, verse 1 for me.
It says here, there is restoration from capitis diminutio in the three capacities. Restoration. Civil rights could be restored in some cases, such as if a prisoner of war returned home, or if an exile was canceled under Roman law.
You turned that off.
Good catch, Jason. Okay, so we have capitis diminutio maximus. So they capture us with no rights. So the minute they tell you you don't have any rights, and we say, yes, we do, and we hand them a driver's license. The driver's license is written today in all caps, which means that name has no rights, and we're the one who signed it. The signature, we gave power when we signed that. Now, we know that doesn't grant them power, but they can presume they have some. And that's the problem we run into, which is why it's better to just travel with a passport and not have a license at all. If we can get to that point, that's probably a better way to go, or a passport card, which has the same size as a driver's license for convenience sake. What were you? Okay. Let's go to. Wait a minute. Let's go to Galatians 4:1.
Galatians 4:1. Now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, is not differ at all from a slave, though he is master of all.
Repeat that.
Now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, does not differ at all from a slave, though he is the master of all. He is master of all.
So an heir, as long as he's a child, does not differ, this is scripture now, does not differ from that as a slave. How is that possible? A child, as long as he doesn't differ from a slave. And how does that relate to the minor estate? How does that relate to the way that government becomes our daddy? The judge, who's not a judge, we now know. And yet when they bring us in there, if we haven't corrected our status, then perhaps that's the way that they have the authority to send us a letter and demand we come into their private religious ceremony. So capitis diminutio maximus, capitis diminutio media, and then there's capitis diminutio minimus. That's the minimum loss of status. So we could, I did this study once, and because I wanted to learn what was going on. And check this. Here's the difference in the description of how the name of a name is written is different. If it's capitis diminutio maximus, the way it's written is different than media, and it's the way that it's different than minimus. So who can tell me and guess the difference between the three, how it's written? Take our name and say, Maximus we know is all caps, right? I'll give you a clue. Minimus, which is the minimal loss of status when it's written on a paper, is upper and lower case. Upper and lower case. What do you think the medium loss of status, how that's written?
Small lowercase.
No. Medium loss of status.
That's the upper and lower case, all lowercase.
No, that's minimus. I'm going to give you the answer. It's hard. The answer is a middle initial. So if, you know how we like, well, I'm going to spell the name first and last with upper and lower, which is called proper, and then I'm going to throw a middle initial in there. That's describing a person with medium loss of status. So how does that matter when I'm a black man walking through town and I don't have my papers on me? well, let's say I do have my papers on me, and my master just freed me. How can I prove it to the white slave catchers that I'm a free man? Guess what they had to have? Now, this is an assumption I'm making, but I'm 99% sure I'm correct. Because I have to go into the files and prove it. But the way I learned this, the first part of Maximus, was I was in a jail. I was watching a PBS special on slavery in Charleston, South Carolina. They were having a slave auction. And there was the name of a woman, just a first name on the bill, saying this, and it described her age, how she looked, athleticism, and so on, and her features, and it had the name in all caps. That was the bill to who were selling this coming Saturday at the slave auction. And that gave me the first clue of maximum loss of status. And then the Maximus movie, Gladiator, his name was Maximus. They're telling us he has a complete loss of status. His owner can order him into the ring. And there's nothing he can do about it. That owner has the right to kill him. And that's what the folks in the South felt when they owned people who were under slavery. And if you killed an indentured servant, you were tried for murder. But if there was a slave involved, it's your property. You can do with them what you want. And that was part of the problem. Imagine, we think we have problems, right? Imagine being a slave in the South with some maniacal slave owner. Someone said, no, I'm not going to repeat that. Anybody have anything that I don't want to? Okay. You have something to say?
Well,
Ned?
I think a lot of also why we're also under Roman rules, statutes, and codes is also because of looking up, trying to find the year that the Congress gave up our sovereignty to the UN, because the UN is actually run also not by just King Charles, but the Vatican. Matter of fact, the Jesuit, I'm trying to remember his name, Thomas something, helped create the UN. And so, in looking up the IRS, what it takes to be an agent of the IRS has to give up their citizenship, and they have to take an oath to the UN. It's an oath actually to the UN, and they and also the judges, because they rule in IRS cases, they also have to give up their citizenship. They are given qualified immunity, and they are considered UN peace officers, which is basically what we have.
Have you ever had that actual proof about?
We do. I have it printed out. It's actually on a flash drive that I gave to Darren as well.
Okay.
It's under the IRS manual for agents.
You know, it's helpful instead of all of us having to keep doing all that research. Yeah. Send me, and just that alone, I'd like to have, which is a proof the IRS agents have an oath to the UN.
Yes.
Okay, if that's true, then that's important information. Well, I do have, I did come across it, I can't remember, it would have answered your question just this week about the UN, when it was, when the United States
Gave up their sovereignty.
Congress surrendered sovereignty to the UN. So maybe the fact that it's a fake government, a corporate government, that's been the whole way they've been trying to bring in the New World Order since since who knows how far back.
The Versailles Treaty, as far as I know.
Right. Well, everybody, there's a song, I forget the name of it, who sang it. You would know, Jason. Everybody wants to rule the world. There's a lyric.
Cheers for fears.
Tears for Fears. Right. Thank you, Charles. I mean, it made sense. Everybody wants to rule the world. That's not true. At some point, you mature and say, I don't want to rule the world. So, okay. So, now I happen to believe, and please do some research if anybody ever comes up with it, there's a fourth and perfect way to not lose any status. And that's to be a free man.
As a more?
It's thumbprint.
Huh? What's that?
Thumbprint.
Thumbprint, that's thumbprint.
Is a free man?
Proves you're alive. Proves you're unique.
Well, I was referring in the sense of the capitis diminutio Roman law. And I read that in Europe, there's only one free man in a family. I think King Charles, Prince William, or whatever his name is. Prince, what's his name?
Harry.
No, the other one.
William.
Right. So there's King Charles and there's Prince William. Who's the only head of the family?
William.
No, King Charles. So in Germany, my understanding is, and possibly Italy, I'm pretty sure it is. You know how there's the word Don, he's the Don of the family. He's it. I mean, he could have 10 sons, and he's it.
Yeah.
And there could be brothers of his, and he's still Don.
Yeah.
In the European system, he's the only one that hasn't had a loss of status. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
You following me, what I'm trying to explain? Now, in America, the people who knew Europe, the people who knew European custom, said, you know what, we don't like that over here. We're going to make, once they went through the Revolutionary War, they're like, everyone can be a free man, and there is no loss of status for certain men. Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And that's one of the things that made us free, because every man then rose to his own level of competency and reward and labor. He enjoyed the fruits of his labor. Whereas over in Europe, and I've seen it kind of like in the California rancheros and so on, before we robbed California from Mexico by the war. Those people, it was always like there was one guy in charge, and he is the one with no loss of status. And that makes sense to me. So did you read minimus as far as what you lose? I think you just
you only lose.
the word I read in there back when I studied it from memory is family rights.
Yes, that's what it said. Family rights.
What, minimus?
Yeah.
Okay, now.
Was family rights.
Okay, so how would that matter? Why? And this is why in my opinion, Roman Catholics, there are no free Roman Catholics. Why?
They're all owned by the Vatican.
Who's Papa?
Pope.
Pope. Who's the only one from Europe, essentially, Rome, that has no loss of status? Everyone else, no matter how high they rise, they're always under the Pope. They have some minimal loss of status.
Actually, there's three others.
The other one.
There's the red Pope, the black Pope, and the gray Pope.
Okay, again, please, you're saying you can send me the information?
Yes. Yeah, actually, right now, the one that we have is a great pope. He is actually a Jesuit. The Jesuits have the black pope. Black pope is the one that's in the shadows, and then the white pope is the one that's out front. The red pope and The Gray Pope is is also a Jesuit, and he's one that's out front, which is what we have now. The Pope that is sick, he is a Gray Pope. He is both one out front, and he's also one that is private. It's a very rare event, and he could be the last Pope, according to some people. Red Pope is also a order of the Jesuits as well.
Okay, so how does that affect, or should it affect you and me here on this land that we're running around? How should the Vatican have any authority, or statutory law have any authority upon us, and how can it act upon us, and what can we do to defeat that power that they're attempting to assault us with, or to exercise?
Well, the majority of the leaders are there are many Catholics that are also Freemasons, and there are many Jesuits and Freemasons that have been the world leaders for the last 1,000 or 1,500 years. So to get away from that, I believe, which is in Black's Law, 4th edition, the only ones that are actually freemen are the Moors, and we would have to be able to associate with them.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
It's tribal. It has to do with being tribal, which you can prove by your ancestors being on the land prior to the making of the 14th Amendment.
Right, but how does that matter to me as a red-blooded American born on the land and soil of Pennsylvania?
Because
Why do I need a Moor treaty?
Because even Trump is talking about how the Moors are rising, and they are actually talking about. This keeps turning off. And so Moors are being recognized more and more as free men, and they are allowing people to associate them with as well, causing them not to be U.S. citizens.
I'm not disputing a Moor's right to claim the treaty that was made with the Sultan of Morocco in the 1700s, which was then renewed 50 years later. I know Jefferson was well aware of the Moor Treaty, but unless one wants to claim Moor heritage, it has nothing to do with me personally.
Right, if you're not going to claim it, yeah, but I'm looking to do it.
The Moors were like,
They're dark-skinned people.
yeah,
The Moors were like the Persians of Mexico, basically, and Texas and stuff, the Moors.
Actually, the Moors.
Madam Moors actually means kill the Moors.
Actually, Moors are the indigenous aborigines that were here before the colonists got here.
Some do say that the Moors from Morocco area came over here a long time before 1776, and I think that may be why there was an international aspect to this country, because people were sailing back and forth for hundreds of years. So there had to be some sort of international concept, internations. So the Moors. So the Moors pretty much have helped with pulling out the information about the U.S. citizen or citizen of the United States, correct? Let me give you an understanding of why I went ahead and accepted Social Security. I was told, don't take any benefits from the government. So I'm getting to the point where I could maybe get a little cash extra. And the application said I had to agree that I was a United States citizen with a capital C. Why was I okay with that? What's the difference between the word citizen with a small c and citizen with a capital C? And the clue is that a word that begins with a capital letter is subject to something or someone. If I go to the Constitution, it uses the word citizen of the several states. I'm a citizen of a several state. I agree to that all day long, absolutely. Because the founding documents, the organic laws, there was no capital C citizen unless you look at the original Declaration of Independence, and the word citizen there, if I'm not mistaken, was referring to someone on water, if I'm not mistaken. That's interesting. So, why was I okay with it? The reason is, whenever we see citizen of the United States with a small c, it's never written with a capital C. I've never seen it written, citizen capital C of the United States. It's always a small c. And that's how the 14th Amendment is written, small c. My understanding, as I'm locked up in jail trying to figure all this out, is a small c citizen is one of the capitis diminutio with a certain loss of status. Did I lose all my rights when I was put in jail? No. I lost some rights. I didn't lose all. I didn't lose my citizenship. I didn't lose my family rights. So I learned that a citizen, how can they do this to people claiming they're a citizen of the United States? How can they take away our life, liberty, and property because in their world, I'm a citizen of the United States, and take away some of my liberty? The answer is, the small c has breadth. Has breadth. A small c citizen has breadth. So they're taking a living entity to jail, but once I got there, they went ahead and booked me as the all caps name, which was completely dead. But that was to collect the money, because they wanted to make sure I wasn't entitled to any, in their world, they had me locked up with no rights. Okay? Which is going to be found out and cost them at some point, but I'm not interested in money only. I want them to surrender the freedom of the state back to the people for what they do. Right? That's what we all want. And the question is, do we need an executive order to do that? Maybe, because an executive order got us into this mess in 1861. So what I learned, so now when they ask me to be when they ask someone, you'll see it written U.S. citizen with a small c. Now remember, if the word U.S. is there, that's a predicate to the name citizen, as opposed to citizen of the United States, which has breadth. So a U.S. citizen is more like property of the government, like a mule. They used to stamp mules.
Transmitting utility.
No, the transmitting utility is with the middle initial. I found that out when I got, well, actually probably a transmitting utility. I know that I had a license at one point, and I remember distinctly that they took the liberty to change the way my name was written on my license. Didn't even ask me. I'm like, all right, I can accept that. But I didn't realize that Obama had rehypothecated my labor, my Sesta K trust account to the government, because whatever happened in the bankruptcy they were doing, he had to find a new way to attach this being through a name to transmit money in and out of that account when the government needed it. If they arrested me or issued me a ticket, or I applied for a mortgage. So I just started agreeing with what they said, because it just made my life easier. But now as I've begun resisting, and then this last time I got a license, I went back there and she says, this state now, we make you use your whole name. We don't allow middle initials anymore.
Yeah, I have mine's the whole name.
And again, it's probably due to the whole aspect. So the way they do their banking with gleaning energy out of our Sesticate trust account, using the transmitting aspect of the dashes. If our number has 2 dashes in it, it means money goes in and out of the bank account, whatever bank account that is. If there's only one number, it only comes in, is my understanding of how it works. Remember how sometimes a corporation only has a single dash in it? There's some sort of a function.
You said something about having 2. I'm just confused on the point. If it has 1 dash,
The money only goes one way.
that's fine. I just didn't. You said the way you said it.
So like Social Security with 2 dashes.
Social Security with 2 dashes is the way that the government, the judge, writes a bond and attaches the money. The way the mortgage company writes up a mortgage and it gets the money. The car company, we give them a Social Security number and we go ahead and put the dashes in there. It even has many times the dashes are written for us. 3 here, 2 here, 4 here. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So the question we're working on is how to be the only ones that can use the account number. And guess what account number we currently have? That's the account number of the estate. It's the number without the dash.
Every time I get the Social Security number from them, I use whiteout. And it's write it with whiteout and I send it into them.
Explain that, Kurt.
Well, I use whiteout on my Social Security number. On everything you do, I just put it on it's got 2, ... and then 3. Anyway, every time there's a ... I just white it out and send it to them.
Send it to who?
Whoever uses it.
And what effect do you think that has?
What did you just say? That it's a two-way thing. They can get it and I can get it. When I take and white it out, it can only go my way. It can't come back. It's no longer the right number. The number's not right anymore.
Right, so they basically, you're defeating their ability to
Correct.
attach the money.
Correct.
Okay, good. So, I mean, we're all work in progress here. We are getting a lot closer. The problem is going to be how we, continue to restrict the unconstitutional acts that the law enforcement is trying to attach. By the way, tonight I plan to be presenting to the City Council of the City of Bedford some of this information I'm talking about constitutional comments. I'm going to explain the Confederation to them, and I'm going to explain the gold fringe flag and ask them, why is there a gold fringe flag in your council chambers? Do you have any authority to fly that flag? And I don't think they do. The reason why I say that is when I refused to stand at the town I live in at the moment for over a year at the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, because it had a gold fringe on it. Eventually, they replaced the flag. And I just sent the U.S. Army this morning an email asking them for whether or not a city council has the authority, because the Army's in charge of all flags. Did you know that?
Yep.
For the Marines, for the Navy. I never knew that. The Army. By the way, who is the only organization permitted to have a spear posted at the top of a pole that flies a flag? Harry says the Army. He is correct. So if we ever see a spear at the top of a flagpole or staff, what's that communicating?
Military occupation
By whom?
by the Army.
Because the Army is the only one allowed to fly it. The Navy's not allowed to fly a spear. The Marines are not allowed to fly a spear, as far as I know. So I'm learning about what is called heraldry, Heraldry, heraldry. Because if we know what they're telling us with the flags, what flag am I flying? What is my flag today? What flag do I claim?
Should be the peace,
Why?
because then they have no right, they have no right to occupy your house, or
Where is that written?
it's actually a civil law, actually.
Where?
So the war flag actually is,
Not
war
answering.
flag is the red, white, and blue flag.
Yeah.
And it actually gives them the right to have military occupation because you're stating that you're in a time of war.
Yeah, there's a ball at the top.
Yes. But if you're flying the peace flag, then you're not flying the flag of war.
Is that confirmed anywhere in the U.S. Code?
Yes.
Please get me that. That would be very helpful. I've never seen it. I've heard it. I hear a lot of things, but it's nice to know we are able to back it up with support.
And also the ball at the top means that you're willing to house U.S. troops.
Yes.
A ball at the top. Where? Okay, Jason. I'm concerned. That's Patriot myth. I'm concerned. It's Patriot. I'm not disputing what you're saying. All I'm asking is that you come forward next time you read it and get the proof and present it and say, here it is. This is why if we have a flagpole outside our house and think the ball is nice and attractive there,
And it is.
is that actually communicating? It's a herald. Yes, Bill. Excuse me. How the authority is one thing. To have authority to do these things is one thing. The reality is nobody knows what the hell you're talking about. What you're talking about. So to enforce that, realistically, it can't be done. And everything you're talking about eliminates that, or it supports that behavior of, if you don't know about it and the people don't care about it, it won't happen. And everything you're talking about is in books, and that's the end of it. Oh, that's what I'm saying. The reason I think there's some evidence to dispute that claim, that conclusion, is because in the hometown that where I'm from, after over a year of not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance because there was a gold fringe flag in the corner of the war flag, the stars and stripes, I asked them, just put the one with no fringe up, so at least I can stand and pledge allegiance, since like I've been doing since I've been 6 years old in grammar school. pledging allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. What's interesting, I found out today as I was studying the flag code, which the code is supposed to always match the Constitution, the original Constitution. If the code doesn't match it, then unfortunately, if we don't know that, then they use it against us. And we have to know what's true. But most of the time, they know the Constitution, these lawyers, and they make sure, in order to control the masses, that they have it down to where the way they word it matches the Constitution, but it can be interpreted by the police officers and others, like you're saying, Bill. They don't know any different.
People don't know.
And the people don't know, because I could tell the
That's what's key, is the people is who we are.
Right.
Is who this country is the people.
the country is the people. You're correct.
When
Well,
they take that away from the people, and that's what you're talking about, you have to follow the rules. The rules don't count. Nobody knows it.
right. So I brought information. I would educate my city council.
Key, educate, that's right.
I would educate so they could learn.
Absolutely.
Isn't that what you like to do? Is learn, right?
And our problem is nobody has learned a damn thing.
Well, one of the reasons is we're dumb, not able to speak. So so I would send proof to city council, proof, making them appear like questionable as far as why would they stand up and salute a flag that the words don't match what they're saying. I indicated to them, why aren't you city council and all the people in this auditorium at city council, when everyone stands except me, they're all facing a flag that doesn't match what they're saying. I said, why don't you turn around and pledge allegiance to the flag on the pole outside? And they looked like fools. That went on for a year, till finally Glenn happened to be in town, and I'm like, that looks like a new flag. But I didn't go to that one council meeting, and I said, that looks like a new flag with no fringe. So we took a field, I've repeated myself, but it was fun. We took a field trip down to city council, the chambers. It was on a day of the week. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. We took a little field trip to inspect the flag up close, because it's public property. So we were going to walk around in this empty room and check it out. And Darren and I went over to Bedford to inspect. I think it was just the two of us. I said, I want to see whether or not the gold fringe flag is in your city council chambers. And so the cop wouldn't let us in. I said, why not? I said, the door's unlocked. He says, well, I said, are you telling me that you're preventing members from the public from walking into the public council chambers to just see whether the flag that's in there has gold fringe on it or not? He finally surrendered once I asked him that way. So we walk in, and then he couldn't find the light switch. So that was his second reason why I can't go in. I said, okay, I have a light on my phone. How about if I use that? I opened the door and said, see, I can see, let's go in. So we did. And it turns out there's a Texas flag with a gold fringe, and there's a United States flag with a gold fringe.
Can I add something to this?
I've always associated the golden fringe flag with the corporation. All right. So the other day I was in Waxahachie, and there's a really old courthouse down there, and I was looking in through the window of the courthouse where they hold their, the administrator, judge, whatever sit, and their flag wasn't infringed. And so I looked it up on my phone, and Waxahachie is unincorporated.
Darren, or Nelson?
Yeah, was that a county? Repeat where you were.
It's a city.
You were in a
The
city.
city of Waxahachie is not incorporated.
The city of Waxahachie is not incorporated, and you're saying that
Their flag inside their court building was not infringed.
there was a courtroom or a court building? A courtroom. Not infringe.
not infringe.
Wow, that's interesting. So what kind of courts do they hold in there?
I don't know. I'm just taking notice of it. And I looked up on my phone, and it's because the city is not. So I've always associated the French flag as a captured flag. So since they brought in the captured war flag, that's a corporation.
Our current understanding is a gold fringe flag. A fringe flag says it's a contract that's been broken.
Yes.
Contract that's been broken.
Now,
And the gold fringe means, in my mind, it's commercial.
and there also is, because Dwight D. Eisenhower in the Federal Register papers also would make Hawaii stated that a three-sided gold fringe flag is a military flag. The civil flag, I said correctly, it is actually.
Are you reading from a synopsis or something?
No, this is USCivilFlags.org. The first U.S. civil flag, 1799. In the early days of our nation, horizontal stripes became the accepted practice for use over military posts, and vertical stripes were used over civilian establishments. The use of the civilian flag also spread to merchants and common citizens to symbolize the constitutional rights. The civil flag had red and white vertical stripes with blue stars on a white background. By the law of the flag, the vertical stripe design denoted Roman civil jurisdiction with federal territories rather than military jurisdiction under admiralty law. The practice of using the custom flag as a civil flag became encoded law in 1874 when Treasury Secretary William A. Richardson required all custom houses to display the civil flag. But it denotes admiralty law.
What denotes admiralty law?
The civil flag.
Civil flag denotes
That
Jason.
flag right there.
Jason, that denotes Roman
Civil jurisdiction.
Civil jurisdiction
Under admiralty law.
under admiralty law, which is not necessarily bad, because some of my research is claiming that admiralty is not terrible, because in admiralty they have to do the right thing, but not in maritime or contract law.
But just before they made the Constitution, the second Constitution, the Treasury Richardson enacted the civil flag to be flown over custom houses. And so
That's interesting. So we need to someday, could you send me that if you remember? Just text it to me. Sure. And I've heard about the custom house, and a lot of people, it sounds good. That's the peace flag. That's the peace flag. That's the peace flag. Well, maybe. Peace about what? Between who? Is the fact that, my understanding is that the Stars and Stripes were not permitted to fly on state property in New Jersey until after 1940. Even because, think about it, the separation of states with the United States, the separation of powers, the sovereignty of the state. That state, we're still under this confederacy. What is this confederacy with a small c under the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union? This confederacy with a small c is the common law agreement between the people and the states. We were at war. We were making, it says that the style, S-T-I-L-E, of this confederacy, small c, shall be, quote, what? The United States of America, unquote. It's the only place that the United States of America with a capital T is written that way. in any of the organic laws that I can find. Now, the United States of America is written. On the passport, it says United States of America on the front, not the United States of America. United States of America. So the reason I bring that up is to kind of give you my understanding about how to solidify our guaranteed not losing our status. Because if we don't have the right papers with us in this military occupation, they can assume and presume, because they're looking for proof. Go ahead, Kerry.
Every time that they talk to me about anything, I make them define everything on the page. I define it because I'm a dumb guy. I don't understand. Explain this, and then okay, why does it say this here? And when I'm done, the guy says, we're not going to deal with him. So they won't deal with me anymore when I go to when I get a ticket. They won't even deal with me because I'm going to go down there. They're going to explain every word on the page. Why does it say? And they say, why do you do that? Because right there's the reason I do it right there. Because what happens is the fringe flag, the non-fringe flag, the big blocks, or the not small block, or whatever it is. I need all that defined so I know that I'm being done correctly. I won't step forward until if they refuse to do it, I say, get an attorney if you need one. Because see, the attorneys can't deal with me either, because the attorneys, they have to lie in order to keep what they're doing. And then, so what I do is every time they write something, I write it and I sign it. Sign this, we're not going to sign it. Well, then it didn't happen. Then it didn't happen.
So Kerry sounds like he's a trapper by profession. You know what he traps? Attorneys.
Well, it's not that I don't like attorneys.
No.
I hate them. But what happens?
That's good.
a fair answer.
That's
Yeah,
good.
but what happens
Kerry
is,
said he doesn't, it's not that he doesn't like attorneys, he says he hates them. But go ahead.
well, because see, the problem is, I'm very clear. I have a couple of children. You know, when I tell them not to, there's no question what I told them. See, they'll say, well, you didn't say this last time, you didn't do it this time, and they're really good at that. So when I do it, okay, here's what's going to happen. Well, you told us that last time. Hold on. And I go through every word on the page. And so when they do that, I don't get in trouble very often, but when I do, the guy says, oh, it's you. Just let him go. Because when I'm there, I'm going to be there for 2 hours, hopefully, maybe 3. And see, now their machine is not printing money. It's not printing money. It's not
You
printing money.
jam the machine.
That's all I want to do. And so when they tell me,
So if more of us would jam the machine, which is kind of what we're doing, we're learning to jam the machine.
what they'll say is, do you have a driver's license? I said, thank you. For what? See, because do you know what a driver's license is?
No, explain it to me.
I can't, because I don't understand it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is until they see a driver's license. Okay, a driver's license
It would
is
be like them saying, do you have, and saying some foreign word which you literally do not understand.
right.
Right?
Because well, see, okay, I have a grandbaby. When I ask her for her driver's license, she just looks at me. Oh, okay, I like that. So, do you know what a driver's license is? I don't know. Define it. Glossarize it so I understand. And then the attorney says, what are you trying to say? I'm not trying to say anything. I'm sitting here. I'm not saying anything.
Asking for definitions, asking for
Correct.
clarity.
Every time, because I'm from Michigan, okay? We say you guys. My wife is from Texas. She says y'all. Is that the same? I'm asking you. Is it the same? I say you guys. My wife says y'all.
I don't
Is it the
know.
same?
Y'all is not gender specific.
Okay. What does you guys?
It's not gender specific either.
See?
I'm
See?
from St.
But wait a
I'm from
minute.
the Midwest.
You guys, right?
Okay.
Being the male.
But I understand that. use guys. That's really what we say, use guys. So the question is a woman a use guys then?
Depends on what type.
I don't care. I want it defined. Because you're asking me to come in here and tell you I've done something I don't understand.
Right.
Okay, I'm a mechanic by trade. He'll say something to me, I'll say, torque wrench, 14. He just looks at me, what? See, because if I don't understand, I don't understand.
Yeah, they can't do presumption.
That's exactly, they're not with me, they don't. Not with me, they don't.
But what the problem is for me is that they're chewing up more of our life all the time, and I'm looking to just not have to be thinking or dealing with these types of issues. So we're really trying to escape.
They just, well,
The,
in most
it
cases,
sounds like I'm a slave in the South trying to escape.
I don't have a driver's license. I don't have a driver's license. I haven't had one in 10 years. When I get pulled over, he says, driver's license. I says, thank you. He's looking, driver's license, thank you. I can't recognize what I don't have. That's like saying baloney. What's baloney? I don't know. I can't tell you. And he just stands there, and the cop gets on the phone, and then he comes back and says, let him go. They told me to just let him go because I'm going to tie that cop up for as long as possible.
Right.
See, because I don't have what I don't have. He's asking me for something I don't have. I don't understand. I'm confused.
Right.
My mind don't comprehend. I haven't had a driver's license in over 10 years.
Okay, so thank you. That was good information. And now let's return to the organic laws. So the four organic laws, the four organic laws are 1, the Declaration of Independence, 2, the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union, 3,
Northwest Ordinance.
the Northwest Ordinance. Who wants to look up the word ordinance for me? Ordinance. Why would a government use the word ordinance?
Here's the definition of ordinance: a piece of legislation enacted by a municipal authority.
Let's talk about in the military terms. What is an ordinance?
A weapon.
An authoritative order or decree.
An ordinance in military terms.
The ordinance is a delivery, whatever you're gonna, ordinance is.
Well, somebody look it up for me.
What
So
type of
we're not.
ordinance
So
are
they
you gonna
can,
use? You gonna use a 105 howitzer? You gonna use a?
we don't have to use our memories. What's an ordinance in military terms? Because as I'm thinking about, yes, ordinance definitely means what a municipality writes. It's a law, etc. I agree with that. But what if the Northwest Ordinance had to do with weapons? What if it's a weapon, not against us, but that we get to use against the government? Remember, the Founding Fathers hated government. Hated it. But it's a necessary evil. So as Glenn likes to say, there are two enemies. I'm going to say this tonight. It's going to be one of my opening lines at Bedford. If you want to come and watch for 5 minutes or so, I'll be talking to 7 esteemed city council members and the mayor and the city secretary, possibly the city manager and the public. And I'm going to quote Thomas Jefferson. I'm going to ask them, should we honor Thomas Jefferson in this room tonight? Most people would say yes. Well, is it okay? Of course, I have free speech. They can't tell me they can tell me, but as long as I stay within their rules, not slandering someone or whatever, I'm allowed to kind of say whatever I want. So I'm going to quote Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, 2 enemies of the people. So the way I intend to educate them tonight, get them thinking, is to quote Thomas Jefferson. The 2 enemies of the people are criminals and government. Now, Glenn usually goes on faster and I have to have time to absorb what it is people are saying. I can't, if I haven't heard it before, especially. So I'm confident most of these people there tonight have never heard this quote. If they have, it hasn't been a while, and they sure can't quote it the way Glenn can. Someday I'm going to be able to quote it. The two enemies of the people are criminals and government. I'm going to repeat.
Redundant?
It can be. But see, I don't want to insult the government because I give them the benefit of the doubt until such time as they prove different. And I'm going to actually tell them, these types of things, that I'm not anti-government, but I got all their oaths of offices. I'm going to read one of them and I'm going to print it out and say Mrs. whatever her name is or his name is. I have the oath of office here. Let me read you what you signed.
Actually, you're supposed to have them read it on the record.
For what reason?
Because then it proves, so there's two ways that, because being a notary, we have to have our oath of office with us, but we have to be able to quote it.
At all times?
Yes.
You
All officials have to be able to present it or quote it. And you are allowed to look it up and state it, but you have to state it on the record.
I love that. That's perfect. I love it.
So have her read it, Nelson. Just do as a favor. Hey, Miss Nelson or Miss whoever.
Is it a
Would you
favor or
mind
is it?
reading your oath of office that you signed right here?
Is she obliged? Well, that puts them on the spot.
It's gonna be on
Yeah,
TV. I bet they record this and put it on some kind of like local TV.
Now, whether they balk at it, that's a different story, but that's something that's brought up in the appeals
If they
court.
do that, then you say, "Oh, excuse me, I'm confused."
It's actually, you have to be able to, you
They have to.
have to have, if your office requires it, you have to have the oath of office, otherwise you're an imposter and it's treason.
Well, the oath of office is provided for me. It's right in front of me.
Right.
But what are you claiming that they have to be willing to do under law?
Under law, and the state constitution, especially in Texas, they have to have it on them or they have to be able to quote it.
What? Okay, could you send me that?
Yeah, it's under the Texas.
Send me that today, because I will then tell them. I think I'm in Texas. I'm not from this land, but some of my friends are. And they've been telling me some awful crazy stories about things that are happening with government around here. There's like an emerging dictatorship or something. Is that possible? So, anyway, I'm going to have some fun.
How much time are they going to give you?
The public gets 30 minutes total. In my town, they limit it to 3 to 5 minutes per person, depending on how many people with 20 minutes total. Here it's 30 minutes total, and if there's two of us, I don't know whether they give us each 15, or if the first guy takes 5, I get the rest, or if we're limited. I don't know. I've never been to Bedford when they are holding an actual city council meeting. So the reason I'm bringing the oath up is because I want to know under what authority is that gold fringe flag flying. Is it a violation of your oath of office? And please find out and present me with your authority to hold this city council government meeting under that flag. I don't even know the answer
I'll
yet.
tell you
That's
what,
why.
well, you're gonna pants them, but you're gonna pants them.
Handsome, what's that mean?
You're gonna pull them down and expose them.
Well, I don't want to expose them in a mean way. I'm
It's
here,
not mean, it's just.
it's we the people.
That's exactly right. It's
Right.
funny because what happens when you do that, they always come to me and say, that's enough, that's enough. What's enough? I'm confused, what's enough? What's enough? That's enough. I understand that. What's enough? I make them see. My thing that they do with them that they don't like is I glossarize everything. I make them glossarize everything. You know what blue is? That's my dog. My dog Blue. No, then glossarize it. I make them glossarize everything. And when I do that, they shut me down right then, move me out because They know what they're doing.
Right.
They
Well-
know what they're doing.
Right.
And they're doing it for the money because most councilmen probably make more money than I do. And so they're doing it for the money.
Interesting. Well, yes, I agree. I mean, if they are actually saving the taxpayers' money and do diligently, then maybe they deserve what they earn, right?
Right.
Okay. So when I was in city council, they were exerting a certain amount of authority, and the council president said to me, he said, the next time you read the Bible during your free speech time, we're going to have you arrested.
Try it, see?
I said, really? So I didn't say anything. The next time I went to go see them, I indicated that, I remember last time you promised that I would be arrested if I spoke the entire amount reading the scripture. Like I used one time, I used the whole 5 minutes, just read the Bible. It was hilarious. They're squirming. See, it's my free time. You're a councilman. You have to sit here and listen. And so I said, you do have the authority as council president to tell that police officer in the back of the room to have me arrested. I said, but before you do that, I would suggest that you as the council president hire and consult with a criminal defense attorney. And the next time, I went ahead and read the scriptures again, waiting for the cops to come up and get me. Surprisingly, they did absolutely nothing. What was happening was there was someone on the, I believe, I can't prove it, a council member is Jewish, and I would use the word Jesus far too many times. So he, behind the doors, told the mayor, I want him stopped. He's one of the wealthiest men in the town. So, anyway, I have some fun with that. So the two enemies of the people are criminals and government. So here's what Jefferson said. So let us tie the second down, the second meaning the government. So I'm going to say, Jefferson said we're supposed to tie down the government. You're the government. With the chains of the Constitution. We're supposed to tie down the government with the chains of the Constitution. So the second, which is government, we're tied the second down with the change of the Constitution, so the second will not become the legalized version of the first, which is criminal. I'm not accusing them of being criminals. I'm just saying that in order for we, the people, to prevent enemies of the people from acting upon us as a criminal, it's our job to know the Constitution. So then I'm going to ask them, can you tell me, counsel, I see your city solicitor is here. Mr. Chairman, Mr. President of the council, would you please ask on behalf of the grand citizens of Bedford? I might not go quite that far, but it would be fun if I did. The grand citizens of this fine town to inquire of the city attorney, how many constitutions are there? And I'm going to wait. Would the council please consider right now taking a quick vote and ordering the city attorney to get back to you so that this council can answer this question for the grand citizens of this fine town of Bedford, Texas?
And they sit right there. They have their attorneys right there on the end. You know, they're all there. They're all there.
Now, the word solicitor, guess what the word solicitor means? I never knew. So I looked it up. I'm giving you what I believe, I remember it saying. It said that a solicitor, their job is to protect property. Their job is to protect property. So what property does the city solicitor protect? Exactly. Everything. In the confines, everything related to that, they're responsible to protect it. That word comes from merry old England, unfortunately. So if it's true that somehow the King of England is currently connected to Bedford, Texas property, guess who that city solicitor in today's world is working for? The King and the Vatican, right?
Well, yeah, everything goes back to that.
Correct. I mean, a lot of these, I'm just repeating and making circles and adding connections so we can understand what on earth is going on here. And then, after they probably do not answer my question about how many constitutions there are, I'm going to ask them, can this president ask the solicitor, city attorney, to explain to the grand citizens of Bedford, Texas, or fine citizens, the difference between the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the United States of America?
Well, he could ask, but he's probably not going to answer.
You won't answer.
Who won't answer?
Whoever he has to, they ain't answering. You can't answer.
Why not?
Define it for him. Define it for you. That's it.
So should I ask them to define? What would I ask them to define to have some fun?
All I'm telling you is, every time I open my mouth, the first word out is define this. I'm confused. Then they tell me, because the definition, okay.
But I'm the one that's talking
That's
first.
okay. That's okay. The definition of an asshole, every one of these people define it different. That's what I got. Now I got it. Because as soon as I ask them, they're gonna start defining it. And then I
Part of my purpose, and one of the I have at least two audiences when I go to a city council meeting. One is the government, the other is the public. Like I asked that, I thank you for reminding me. I just remembered one question I have to ask was when we went with someone here down to a municipal court in Bedford, I took some free time. That was when they were in session doing something, and I was talking to a local police officer, and I asked him some of these same questions. And then I asked him if we were talking about the gold fringe flag, we were talking about the two constitutions, which I told him, did he know there was two? And he said no. I was giving him some of the answers. We talked about his oath. I asked him, what does your oath even say? He couldn't tell me. So I'm going to take a copy of his oath tonight. He might be there. I'm going to give it to him. So he now has a copy of his oath. That's going to help in your guys' life when people are now, who are in government, are where they actually have an oath to support.
If they can't quote it, they should be fired immediately on the
Really?
spot.
I can't wait.
On my opinion, here's, I'm going to stand up and tell you, you're fired because.
Until such time.
That's right.
Suspended.
You left Donald Trump, you're fired.
Okay.
Because if they don't know what they're here for, then they got a problem.
So I asked him, I said, are you aware? I told him I would go to city council, and I asked the question, is the municipal court of Ocean City a private court? Yes or no? I asked the president of the council. Is the municipal court, in this case Bedford, a private court? Is the municipal court of Bedford a private court? Yes or no? The answer is yes. So when one of our friends was in that court the other day, I'm not sure they realized that it's a private court that they're entering into. If they did, then why did they have to be there? What contract was he involved in that forced him to go in? And I was under the assumption, and I've proven it, a municipal judge may not, under the Constitution in today's world, forcibly bring us by force into his courtroom. May not.
Where is that written?
Where is it written?
Well, yeah, because I'll print them and start passing them out.
The reason, there's a number of reasons, and I hear what you're saying, and so I proved it by forcing them to arrest me, and after many weeks in jail on a trespassing charge that I refused to pay bail, and they refused to let me out, and true story. They said, all right, you want to pay bail? Then keep sitting there. So when I finally went to see the judge on the screen, who had issued the warrant for failure to appear because they failed to send me a proper notice. I understand there's a man 100 years in jail because he didn't come to court. One of your friends has literally 100 years in jail.
Go
ahead.
I'm still looking up the oath, which they have to keep that on file with the Secretary of State. Says that any district or community, let's see, where is it? Civil officers, residents and locational officers. All civil officers shall reside within the state, and all district or county officers within their districts or counties, and shall keep their offices at such places as may be required by law. Failure to comply with this condition shall vacate the office so held. Deb Carter's judge lives in McKinney, Texas. Unless she has property in Fort Worth, she's supposed to be out of office.
Even unless she resides there.
She has to live in Fort Tarrant County.
So she's registered to vote anywhere except Tarrant County.
She has to live.
So that's good. We could have just struck a little vein here in the gold mine.
Yeah, as far as if it's the right Judge Beach, that's Elizabeth Judge Beach had lived in McKinney and not Fort Worth. She was not in office.
So we could, wow, this could, I think we might want to wake Glenn up for this.
He's right there. He woke up.
I did? Glenn, welcome back.
Was I somewhere?
I don't know where you were. It wasn't here. Physically, you were here. Ned just brought up a possible cure for Debbie's Carter's problem.
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay. So let's put that maybe in our little quiver and maybe look at that. So could you send that to somebody so we have it?
Yeah, this is under the Texas State Constitution, so yeah.
Under the Constitution?
Yeah, the Texas State Constitution as far as officers, and it's under Section 16 of the Oath of Office.
Okay. So basically, a county official has to live, right?
Says that, yeah, district and county officials have to live within their county and their district in order to be in office.
Wow, that's powerful.
And their office has to be in that county or district as well.
Her office is probably there. Her office is her courtroom. That could be why they have their name.
It's under Article 16, General Provisions, the Texas Constitution. And then you scroll down to, where is it?
That's awesome. Awesome information.
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay, so we've got about...
Section 14, Section 16, Section 14 of General Provisions.
We're going to have about 10, 15 minutes left for today as far as the official gathering with questions and presentations. Let's, for fun, revisit, since Glenn can pull up where are we here? Is this the Constitution?
Yeah.
Could we go back to the Declaration of Independence, please? We're going to just kind of get our feet wet again there. And don't forget, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, we will be in Dallas, Texas, holding a 2-hour gathering in Farmers Branch. Free admission, donations accepted, there's free coffee, free popcorn, and we're going to have Glenn probably present some data to continue our learning.
Okay, so where in the Declaration of Independence do you want?
We are in the Declaration of Independence. Let's go down, because we went pretty far in this gathering, down to, okay.
I think it was down here, wasn't it?
Yeah, okay. So,
When we passed here, because we added in this definition of tyranny.
yeah, we had talked about extended unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. Yes, we talked about consanguinity. We were actually finishing it up. So let's go through go backwards a little. There you go, a little further, a little further, right there. We have warned, nor have we been wanting, this is the Declaration of Independence, 1776. Founding Fathers, there's been bloodshed up on the Boston Commons, and they decided they had had enough, and they're giving the world their reasons for the separation from the motherland. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature, Parliament, to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. So, Glenn, could you comment on how today it says warn them from time to time of attempts by the legislature? Well, our legislatures are doing a lot they've attempted and they've succeeded in extending an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us.
Yeah, well, this came to a force of arms, and so it actually came to war. This is the causes and necessities for taking up arms was passed by Congress in 1775, which is a year before this, right? And so so they're telling why we're going to separate. This is the list of grievances, and we're telling them why we're going to separate, and we're telling them to take a hike, basically, get lost. And
so what would be warrantable jurisdiction over them at the time?
Common law, which the legislature doesn't have common law anyways. This is all civil law, which is the Vatican. See what I'm saying?
So how would civil law today act properly upon any of us? Is it ever possible in your world?
No.
Really?
No, that's right.
It's actually for state, federal employees.
Right, it's government employees.
So what would happen if, let's say, I guess back when you didn't need anybody's permission to build a cabin on your land, right? If you owned the land.
Yeah, it's your land. You can do what you want.
Right. Well, how about today? If I own a piece of land inside a city it's never been built on, I saw a horse farm over here recently in the smack dab in the middle of the place, 3 acres, surrounded by nothing but people and houses. How do they get water and electricity today without engaging in warrantable jurisdiction?
One, you have to make sure that, well, good luck, but everything now is HOA, even if it's farmland.
Okay, but
The house,
but would that apply if you own the loyal title to that 3 acres? Or do you have to say, in order for me to improve the land, I have to start agreeing to rules?
well, you have to have the loyal title to be able to do, not to follow the rules.
Well, actually,
and not have their property on your property.
that's an unconstitutional contract.
What?
Them trying to impose their local zoning rules and stuff like that on you.
Okay, but I want to, what's the name of the, I forget the name of the electric company here.
Well, there's a bunch of them.
Okay, the electric company that has service in that area, and I want electricity, I don't want to burn candles. What do I do?
You're under their rules.
Well, you have to follow.
Yeah, because you want something.
Yeah, that's a private arrangement, though. That's
So, but doesn't me dealing with that entity as the electric company get the city and the state and the county involved?
no.
Okay, that's what I want to know how to do it. How do I have a private contract with Empower, or whatever the name of it is, and have electrical service?
Yeah, you probably can't. You really.
I'm finished?
Well,
Good luck, because they're regulated by the state.
So they'd have to let me have a zoo and anything else I want, as long as I don't ask anybody to bring anything from outside that.
Because you're under the city codes as far as them bringing the electricity on your property.
Yeah, but that's a separate issue as far as the city codes. Like, I have heard of people here in Texas where they bring forward all the rights and privileges of the land patent, and then they stop paying property taxes. And matter of fact, it happened with Bonnie.
Right.
Okay, out in Keene. They sued her, and then they dropped the suit because they knew they weren't going to win, and then they cut off her water because the water was provided by the city. Now, I think that's unconstitutional, but you're going to have to sue them and take them to court over that because the water was provided by the city.
So she could have drilled a well and gotten her own water.
She could have. It was a fairly good sized piece of property too, and so. But that's expensive. That costs a lot of money to drill a well.
Hence why people go into quasi-contracts or contracts.
correct. You got it. That's correct. Because
I want you to
something-
do that.
I want something for nothing. I want
Once
something
you
for
do that,
nothing.
then
As
you're
soon
under
as I have
property
for nothing.
tax.
I'd be willing to pay for the water.
I don't think that the water is a separate issue too. It's like a utility, and so that's separate from the city and from property
It's a
taxes.
public utility.
That's right. It's a
So
public
they actually
utility.
she could have possibly.
She
won
could have
that.
sued them and won. I think
Right.
she could
It's
have.
not, right, it's not my fault you guys decided to spend all this money to bring this
Right.
benefit to me as a
Right.
citizen of the
Right.
several states.
And she's ultimately sold that building, and so then whoever bought the building is going to have to deal with the issue of the. I mean, they'll probably pay the property taxes, and they'll probably have water. And it's not a battle that she didn't want to. It was, she had other things she was doing, so it's not a battle that she wanted to fight.
Right.
You see?
Okay,
In
let's,
fact, I think they were bringing water from somewhere else.
Yeah, they had to bring the water.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she had some cisterns that you would fill up, and then the water would at a pump.
so this then leads to the question of, at what point do we not be stubborn and we cooperate in some fashion? Because what if I've lived here for 50 years and I don't want to be forced to move?
Well, there lies the problem, because I said, you don't do, I shut it off. See, when I was a kid, my dad used to tell me, you don't have to listen to me. He says, but I can shut on your bottom side too with a belt. So, and there lies the problem. My dad was the authority, whether I liked it or not. And if I got out of step, he just pulled his belt off and whooped the tar out of me. And there lies the problem. See, you're going to do what I tell you, or I'll just whoop you.
There is one other way. There is one other way. But it has to do with being a free man, where you are allowed 40 acres of public, that you're allowed it from the national forest. You're allowed 40 acres of property that you can
homestead.
Wasn't that act done after 1861?
No, that was before.
Before, and you're allowed to fish as much as you want, hunt as long as you're doing it to provide for your family and not to sell it as commerce.
Right.
You don't need a license to do that for yourself.
Right.
Interesting. Well, that's good news.
Yeah, that was in the 1820s when they passed that act.
Yes.
Good. That's good. Well, that's,
I think it's actually called the Homestead Act.
No, there's a Homestead Act that was after 1861. I think it was like 1870s. And that was color of law, okay? That was talking about U.S. citizens and all the rest of it.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me there was a free state that had a Homestead Act that wasn't connected to Congress in some fashion?
It was a federal act. The Homestead Act was a federal act.
So isn't that by definition not common law?
Well, the one 1820 that we're talking about is common law, and they right to be able to have the right to sustain your life and liberty, and you're allowed allotted amount of acres that you can.
So my question was, is what do we say to people who say, can't you just cooperate, you people, a little bit?
It's a matter of the principle.
Because then you get inheritance tax, you get property tax.
Because if the government can take a penny, they can take everything.
That's right. If they can take a penny, they can take it all.
There's some other statement, right?
Right. Well, I used to say that all the time. If they can take a penny, they can take it all. So you don't really own it. That's why I refuse to pay property taxes with Montague County. That's why I'm taking it to the Supreme Court.
Right.
Because if they can take a penny, they can take it all. You don't own it.
We'll read a Supreme Court case and say, why do they take a $12 deal all the way to the Supreme Court? Because it's the principle.
That's right.
Correct?
And once you win that one, though, it'll come down on them in a heartbeat. If they understand it.
Thank you. Okay, let's continue. Oh, I'll let you get them.
Yeah. So what else did you want to cover?
Continue reading. We have reminded.
We have reminded them of the unwarrantable, of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. Now, that's important because the reason you got to understand why people left Europe. Most people don't realize this. When you start reading that Tomlin's Law Dictionary 1835 edition, you see that what they were doing is the Vatican was everywhere. They had these ecclesiastical courts, and I don't care if you're a Catholic or not, if you didn't pay dues to the Vatican, they'd haul you up in one of their ecclesiastical courts. It's just like the courts nowadays where it's a kangaroo court, and they don't care what you say. You're guilty, and they put you in jail, and they did. And that's why people left. It was an absolute tyranny is what it was. And so they came here, and that's why they left. Okay, you don't understand. That's why people were leaving England, Europe, all over Europe. It wasn't just England; it was all over Europe. And that's what they're talking about here. Reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity, and see, they have some words in here that consanguinity, but so they have words in here that we don't normally use. And so that's why we put that in here in brackets, say the fact of being descended from the same ancestor. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war and in peace friends.
So let's talk about why it's war every day that the government is declaring upon us today.
Well, I remember the declaration that said he is, let's find it. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. So we're telling him, okay, if you want to wage war, then we're enemies. Right? You want to wage war? No problem, it's on.
So what could we ask them to bring them to the understanding that their act is actually an act of war before they actually continue on with it and give them the chance to back up a little? And that's where the passport comes in. I carry my passport now almost everywhere.
Right.
I go. Because the passport defeats the presumption that I'm in maritime jurisdiction. Instantly. I don't have to argue.
Remember, was it Jefferson said? Jefferson said that a republic is the only form of government that is not at open or secret war against the rights of mankind. It's the only form of government that is not an open or secret war against the rights of mankind.
A republic, and that's why people say we have to restore the republic. My question is, do we, as we the people, do we have to restore the republic? Is what Trump's doing kind of, he has the citizens of the United States out there electing him as the dictator to order everything back towards that? Is he going to order it all the way back? Can he? And then the other question is, for me, is
Quasi.
am I living in a restored republic right now?
Not yet.
I am where I stand.
Well, you can be. I mean, Downs versus Bidwell said there's two national governments. One operates within the Constitution, the other one does not. But there's nothing stopping them from coming up to you and making war on you. And what are you going to do?
That's why we have to be with. That's why I want the Army and the Department of Justice to deal with their criminal employees.
And so some of that's going to start changing. But I think there's a process, and it takes time for that to change. All of this has happened over years, if not decades, and it's going to take time for it to go back.
So please explain to us, Glenn, what you saw of what happens when they violate the safe conduct rule when I show them the passport.
That's true. That's where the passport comes in really handy.
Explain it.
Well, okay. So that actually goes back to the federal codes. And let's show this on YouTube because
I found out that Admiralty and Maritime jurisdiction only went as far in the state up to the high water mark of any water that ebbed and flowed. Ebbed and flowed.
That's why they have a flag, on a mountain in Colorado,
so this is
because of the ebb and flow.
Legal Information Institute, which is Cornell Law School.
I like to use U.S. code next time, just because the U.S. code of 18 would be the actual way it's written. Like this, I found this to be not always exact in the style. But we can, for today's purposes, just let's move on.
Yeah, if you want to argue about that, then,
I'm just educating. I'm not arguing, Glenn. I'm educating people.
So,
they do their own research. USCode.gov is exactly the way it is. Legal Institute is not.
safe conduct violation. Let's actually do this. It'll be easier to find out which section. You got to understand that any code, 1545. I knew it was close to here. 1545. Right here. Safe conduct violation. Whoever violates any safe conduct or passport duly obtained and issued under authority of the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both.
Let's read that again. Whoever.
Whoever,
Does
that's
that
right.
include the local Bedford police?
It sure does.
It does. Whoever.
It sure does. Matter of fact, somebody, I can't remember who it was, somebody said they watched a YouTube video where this guy had his window rolled down about an inch, and he was talking to the cop outside the window. It was the state police, I think. Anyways, the cop said, "Do you have a passport?" And the guy said, "No, I do not." And he busted his window open and drug him out of the vehicle.
That's good proof.
I was the one who mentioned that. I was the one who saw it on Twitter. I haven't been able to relocate it. But there was a white cop in a county sheriff down in, if I'm remembering right, near Miami-Dade County. And the gentleman was a younger black guy, probably 21, 22. And he was playing the sovereign game with the inch window like this, and they wouldn't give him a license. So the cop decided he was going to demonstrate and communicate with us, with him, and for, because he knew he was recording on his camera.
So you have to understand. Well, go ahead and finish your story, Nelson. Here, use the mic so people can hear it.
Apologize. So I was the one that I mentioned it to Glenn that I saw a video, Miami-Dade County Sheriff pull over a man, and he was about 20 or 21. The sheriff was white, the guy was black. He was about 21 or 22. He had his sovereign window game an inch and a half down, talking to the sheriff. And basically the sheriff, I think, was doing all of us a favor by communicating. Had the guy had a passport, he wouldn't have been able to bust his window and take him away. That's where it dawned on me. And the guy was about 45. Like, he was trying to help us. He still had to do his job. And the guy that he was approaching did not have a passport. He was not entitled to safe conduct. Ned.
And we have a witness with one of our people that come here, Bob Baldwin, who has testified quite a few times that he was speeding with Celeste in the car. Cop pulled him over, and he said that he left his driver's license at home, and he gave him his passport, which is a 3-star passport. And the cop went back, gave him the passport, and said, "Please slow down, have a nice day."
He also turned off his lights and pulled up to the right back of him.
Yes, and he waited. He wasn't sure to go, and the officer said, "You're free to go."
Right. So,
What are you doing?
so the police officer, after he told the man he was free to go, he pulled to the right, turned off his emergency lights, and waited for Mr. Baldwin to depart, and Bob to depart. Bob tested him, I guess, and just sat and waited to see what would happen. So is it that due to the passport, that government official was responsible for the safety
That's
of
right.
Bob?
That's right.
And not only
That's right.
the thing about Bob's passport though is he did a correction because he had a passport that I did my passport at the same time he did. He went and did a correction where he fixed he did not in the correction he did not check off that his parents were U.S. citizens, nor was he a U.S. citizen. Got a 3-star passport. Now we are looking at putting the 09 on there to get a 5-star.
Glenn, we have a 3-star passport card right here.
She's good.
Yeah. So the important thing, Lucy, if you ever get stopped, is give them that passport.
Do not have your driver's license.
Don't give them a driver's license, give them that passport.
Yeah. Tell them
No.
you left it at home.
That's right.
And what is that? Whatever that government official is responsible to give Lucy what, or any of us if we hand them a passport.
Safe passage.
Leave your driver's
So
license
here is about a passport. This is found in Rules of Land Warfare, 1914 edition, Passports, Safe Conduct, Safeguards, and Cartels, Chapter 7, Section 4, Article 276, page 100. It says, passport defined. A passport is a written document given to a person or persons by a commander of belligerent forces authorizing him or them to travel unmolested within the district occupied by his troops. Passports are issued by the State Department or other similar office in other countries to diplomatic agents and others entering or traveling in foreign countries, which are the same general character as those issued during war. The latter should, when practicable, have the photograph of the bearer attached. So that's why it's like major felony. Yes, Francine.
Does everyone receive 3 stars on their passport card?
It depends on how you fill it out.
She wants to know if everyone has 3 stars. No,
No.
it varies. And I'm not sure what the rule. There's a lot of patriot mythology about 5-star passports, 3-star passports. I don't think it matters.
I do know. One is how you fill out the document. I filled out checking off U.S. citizen. I do not have a 3-star or a 5-star. I have a regular U.S. citizen passport. I have to fix that in order for it to matter.
Did they send you a passport card?
I did not get the passport card. I only have the book.
Did you ask for one?
I did not.
Well, you don't know what would happen.
Well, I know others that have done the same, and they have a regular passport card. But if you do not check off that you're a U.S. citizen or your parents are not a U.S. citizen, everybody's claiming that they have a 3-star, which Bob, I know for a fact, did that and has 3-star. Crockett,
I'll take that.
who took it a step farther, I'm not sure what he did. He has a 5-star passport, which is Debbie's son.
Right, so basically, let me give you my understanding of why it's important to have the passport card. The minute, okay, what's the difference between a 3-star general, a 4-star general, and a 5-star general? They're all generals, right?
The authority.
It's the authority of being a general. I believe the invaders know full well when they come upon a man or woman on the land in the geographic area, and they show them those credentials, militarily they have to stand down. They are becoming the servant.
Do you want to know the rule for the book and the card?
The rule regarding what?
The difference between the book and the card. There is an
Yeah, there is a, yes, and I think
the book is for air travel.
The book is for air travel only, and the passport card is for land travel. You cannot use the passport card to fly.
true, and my understanding is the passport, if I were to not order a passport card and yet filled it all out properly, not being a citizen of the United States or U.S. citizen, then the passport today carries biometric or chip information in it indicating 3, 4, or 5 stars, which would mean they can't treat me as a citizen of the United States out of Washington, D.C. It's possible the passport is really our, no matter what, it's our safe passage, because it's international in my mind when I give them the passport book, because their authority comes from D.C. today.
Unless you have your driver's license on you and your passport, they will take you to jail for having a driver's license.
Yeah,
On you.
that happened to somebody I know.
Okay, so somebody,
Well,
yeah, so what they're saying is somebody went to jail because they failed to not have a
No, they
driver's
have their
license.
passport,
Wait
but
a
they have
second,
the
let
driver's
me
license.
finish the statement,
Oh,
please.
sorry.
They failed to have a they failed to not have a driver's license. They should have, but if they did have a driver's license, they failed to not give it to them. So once they see the driver's license, that's an indication, that's a presumption that you submitted to statutory authority. I'm surprised that happened, because the minute you give them the passport, that should override.
This happened too. I'm trying to get this guy to come speak to the meeting, but he's always busy. But he has a 3-star passport. He had hit a tree. He'd been drinking, and he was injured. And it was in the kind of outside of the municipality area or whatever. The sheriff pulled up on him, and he had his driver's license in his back pocket. Well, he identified himself with his passport. And so since the cop was going to give him a ride to the hospital, he's like, hey, I need to pat you down real quick, all right? Well, he found his driver's license in his back pocket. And literally at the hospital, he's like, man, you're a really good guy, but let me tell you, this one says do not detain, do not question. And then he held up the driver's license and says, this one says take you to jail. And I'm sorry, I'm going to take you to jail today. And he's like, well, you're not going to do that, But Buster's convinced. By the way, Buster didn't show up in court. They tried to put a breathalyzer on him. He didn't show up for that. He showed up in paperwork. He appeared, right? So that's their idea of appearing. Not only is the person you appear in paper. And he eventually got the whole thing to go away. And then they tried to sue him for the bonds that were created. He paid the bail bondsman off the money that he would have, that guy would come looking for him for the failure to appear. He wouldn't pay him. Like, don't come looking for me. Here's your money. It ended up being real expensive for him, but he ended up getting out of the whole thing. But that just tells you right there that there's two different things. If he hadn't had his driver's license, he's convinced that the cop would have been giving him a ride home from the hospital that night.
Now, Bob has his driver's license, but he left it at home.
Right. If and when I have both, I'm going to make it a rule not to carry my driver's license on me.
Right.
And we can rent a car. They have to rent us a car with a domestic passport card.
Or, really, they do?
They have to.
Yes.
They have to.
You can get a job with your passport card.
See, I had to get a U-Haul yesterday. I had to give up my driver's license for a U-Haul.
And I had a friend, you guys all know Ken. We just rented a U-Haul the other day. He took in his common law passport from England, whoever they issue it from. They kicked him out. We're not renting you a car. He said, Nelson, can I borrow your driver's license? I said, okay. So I had my driver's license on me, allowed me to be in commerce. He got what he needed done. He was not permitted to drive a U-Haul. So yes, that's correct. So there is a good time to have one available. It's part of my military gear. Is my driver's
It's all the way you identify
the
yourself
driver's
when you
license.
interact
Right.
with them.
We don't want to we're going to have to, I did say, it's 2:45. Glenn, 5 minutes only, and then that's it.
Okay, well, we can just wrap it up. Francine, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, just one quick question. So do you need to have both the passport card and passport book?
As far as I know, you have to get the passport book first and then the passport.
Right. Yeah, the question is whether you have to have both, like passport book and the passport card. The way it works is you automatically, when you order a passport, you get the book. And then you have to pay extra if you want the card too.
It's about $280 for both.
By the way, I have the process down. I got a whole packet ready to go. I'm right there at that moment of getting the 5-star or whatever, but I have it down and I fill out all the stuff if y'all ever want to give your passport. And Blessing was saying that, Bob says, I lost my passport. She says, no, you don't have to do that. You give them the other passport, your old passport. Okay, I don't want to be spreading misinformation here. But then you're correcting your application.
You do the correction 5504 form. This is the correction
form for your passport.
She said that you just fill out a new passport form.
The DSL 11.
DSL 11, yeah, DSL 11.
DS11, yeah. DS11.
And I asked Blessing about her children who were born here. She's from Nigeria. I said, so tell me, how many stars did your children receive on their passport cards? And I was shocked. I didn't think new people born on this land, one generation, could get a 5-star. I thought they were going to be limited to 4. She indicated no, they have 5 stars.
That's because they didn't check the citizenship box for their parents either.
Okay.
The parents. And remember what their definition of citizen is. It's a citizen of Washington, D.C.
Right, 14th Amendment citizen.
And Leslie even stated that when she went to the airport, they had to go to a special drawer to look up what her passport status was.
Interesting. Okay, so I guess we're about done here. We'll wrap it up. So we'll wrap it up.
If anybody wants to show up tonight at 6 o'clock.
We're having a meeting, yeah. Not tonight.
No.
Oh,
Wednesday.
Tomorrow.
Bedford.
Tonight's the city council.
Tonight is Bedford.
Okay.
Bedford City Council show is on.
What time?
Please consider
George
just
Cross.
being